things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. We're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back up. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Good evening, Watchmen and Watchwomen of Patreon and YouTube. So I decided, let me decide to turn the volume down a smidge here. I decided to go ahead and go and do a public show again tonight. I typically try to do it at the end of the week because that's the best time to kind of catch up on the week. But there was a video that I had promised that I was going to do, and it didn't work out. So the plans just wasn't working out. And I'm going to explain a bit more here in a moment, but it directly relates to the topic, the title. And so we're going to go over this stuff. My desk looks like a mess because I've got a bunch of stuff here in front of me, and so we're gonna cover a wide-ranging area when it comes to security. I've talked about security before, and it's probably something that I couldn't talk enough about. And the reason why is because it is one of the areas that I specialize in, and it is of utmost importance. And there are so many areas, there are so many ways, so many methods, and for each and every one of our situations, it has to be custom tailored. So that is the unique part of much of everything in the preparedness industry, if you will, is it all has to be kind of custom tailored. Well, security is no exception, and in fact, I would say security is probably at the top of that specialization. So, because you've got everything, to consider in for security. You've got everything from the environment, the terrain, the skill level of the inhabitants. Just everything pours into it. So it's an important thing. And I want to make sure that we don't get caught up in the myths, because there's a lot of myths about security. Now, Lead Farmer 73, which is a channel that if you're not subscribed to it, highly recommend it. There's, as you guys know, there's not a whole lot of channels that I'll hold up in the light and say, yeah, this is this is a gem. Lead Farmer 73, absolute gem. Nonetheless, earlier he did a quick video. Not quite sure what was going on, to be honest. I just caught that it was a drone video, and I guess it was at a condo, or something to do with a condo. So anyway, he did a live stream shortly after he had posted that video, and he had talked about drones. And as you guys know, drones are part of our security. And so that got me thinking about the topic tonight, as well as the recent video I did of putting the hasp, which I've got another one right here, and the lock on the shed. And so, and that plays right into what I was saying about the myth of security, okay? Because I can only imagine the eye rolls that people might get watching me rivet this hasp on that shed and lock it with an ABIS lock, okay? When all you would have to do is walk up to it with a screwdriver and put the screwdriver in between the hasp and the door and give an ever so light pull, and you're going to pull those rivets right through the door. Okay, not a problem. I did not put that hasp on there, okay, for security. The hasp and the lock really is not on that shed for security. It's more on the shed for the myth or the illusion of security. Now let me explain that. So the reason I like I said, it would be super easy to break the entire hasp off and just open the doors. On another note, if there's two individuals there, they could just lift the whole damn shed up and carry it away, literally, because the whole shed weighs like 60-something pounds, okay? And I'm talking about, or 60-something or 80-something. Actually, I think it might be 80-something. But the whole shed, like 80-something pounds. Yes, two people could easily pick it up, okay? So the whole thought of securing this shed that you could walk up to with any dull knife and punch a hole in the side of it and rip the metal right open and get inside, putting a hasp and a lock, really not security. Okay? So let me tell you why I put that on there. Because I did put it on there for a reason. 2 reasons, actually. Number 1, to slow them down. And number 2, any of the ways that I had already mentioned about getting into that shed is going to make a whole hell of a lot of noise. There you go. If they want what's in that shed, they're going to have to make noise to get to it. That is when I'm going to know they're there. I mean, aside from the cameras. But I mean, you know what I'm saying. They're going to have to make noise to get into that shed. Any way they go about it. Which is why I put an ABIS lock on there. Okay? Now, many of you may wonder, okay, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, that's what that video was going to be that I was going to make for you guys. I went out and I bought not only a pair of ABIS locks, there was a key to like pair, so 2 locks with the same key because we got 2 sheds, okay? But then I got a master lock, just a common master lock, one like you're used to seeing, okay? And I would not recommend anybody use a master lock to secure anything, okay? Not even a shed that all you intend to do is make people make a bunch of racket to get into it. Because a master lock will not necessarily prevent somebody from making a bunch of racket to get into that shed. Okay? Now, here is where the it's gotta be my luck thing came in. So, most master locks that I've messed with, and I've messed with a few, not a ton, but probably 4 or 5, somewhere in that number, are so easy to pick. I mean, literally, so easy to pick. Let me show you something. This here is a credit card size lockpick set. Inside of it is a very small, very limited set of picks. However, with most master locks, you can take a pick and what they call a tensioner, stick it in the lock like that, and do what they call a rake, which is just going back and forth. Okay, it's kind of hard for me to do higher up in the air on camera and talk to you at the same time. Okay, I'm not going to be able to successfully do it. Okay, that is the it's got to be my luck thing. Once in a while, okay, the notches that you see on a key is called the bitting. Okay, once in a while, you'll just by dumb luck happen to get really good bidding. Just out of dumb luck, right? Because it's totally random. And I happen to get one that's got really good bidding, so I can't rake it. So, and I've tried and tried, and I cannot rake open this lock. Now, that being said, I can announce, okay, first I need to make a disclaimer, okay? I am as amateur at lock manipulation as it gets, lock picking. I'm as amateur as it gets, as amateur, okay? So I need to make that disclaimer. Now, that being said, This is the very first and only lock to date that I have ever what they call single pin picked, which means you literally go in with your tensioner, and I'll even real quick, while I'm right here with you, I'll try it. I may not get it. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. But this is the only lock that I have ever, in my entire life, single pin picked. I'm trying. Oh, come on. Do I got it? Oh, I got it. Oh, I lost it. Oh, that sucks. The tensioner came out. Hang on. Earlier, I did it like 3 times in a row, like boom, boom, boom. And I was going to turn around and do it on camera. Did I get it? Nope. I was going to turn around and do it on camera, and then I couldn't get it consistent after that. But anyway, I'm not going to sit here and mess with it. But most of them, you can just do the raking, okay? And they'll pop right open. So I will show you real quick. This here is a practice lock for helping teach you how to do picking, okay? And so most master locks that I've seen are actually about the same difficulty as this when it comes to opening. Watch this. It's closed, okay? This is the rake I was talking about. Oops. I've actually got a better set than this. There we go. Boom. Unlocked. Hang on. See? Unlocked. I'll take the keys off. So that way you know it's locked. I'll do it again real quick because it only takes a second. And most master locks are literally this easy. So pay attention. It's locked. It's open. Most master locks are literally that easy to unlock. And that's why I'm saying that you cannot rely on necessarily a master lock to make somebody make a bunch of racket to get into your shed or whatever it is that you've got secured. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, that being said, like these locks I got here aren't the best top of line or anything like that, but they are a little more pick resistant. They're definitely rake resistant. These Abus locks, I raked on them for a while, couldn't get nowhere, and I single pin picked them for probably about a total of 3 hours here and there, just toying around with them. Never could get an open. So, and again, I'm an ultimate amateur, so you know what I mean. However, I did have a first with that too, which was really cool. I do believe the Abus lock has what they call a spool in it, and I'm pretty sure I felt the spool, which would be the very first spool that I've felt in a lock. So that's kind of cool. It's interesting. Very interesting hobby. But anyway, I was going to make a video, like I say, on Master Lock on how easy they were to open, because they are literally even easier than that. And just so happened by dumb luck, I got a Master Lock that has incredible bitting on it, and you can't just rake it open. So, but anyway, if you want to try this, give it a shot, and you'll see how easy Master Locks are to open. Now, I do, like I said, have, and this isn't all just going to be about lock manipulation, so bear with me. This is just an important part of the discussion. But here's another pick set that I have here. This is a much larger, much more comprehensive fix set and I'm not going to lay it all out or nothing like that, but much larger, much more comprehensive fix set. Not a good one, just a cheap one. I don't have a good set or nothing like that. It's not something I've gotten into big, at least not at this point. I find it interesting because of the mechanical nature of it, is why I enjoy messing with it, but it's a good challenge. Hang on, putting my little credit card set back together because I don't want to lose anything. So anyway, I wanted to discuss that because I think that is hugely important. Get this stuff kind of off my lap here. There's several forms of security. I wanted to remind everybody, because I was talking about like the illusion, so to speak, about security. One of the things, and this is big for after SHTF, I mentioned it before. Actually, it might have been on a Patreon video that I mentioned it. So, there's a lot of people that will go through great lengths to secure their doors. Okay? And they'll put bracing, or hell, they'll go out and buy a brand new door and have a steel, not a solid steel, but you know what I mean, a steel door installed, and get rid of their wooden door with the glass panel and all of that to beef up their security. They'll go and they'll do all that with SHTF in mind. And I want to remind everybody that that's not going to cut it. We have to think differently. Right now, we live in a time to where, unless there's something very extenuating, somebody's not just going to break stuff to gain entry, okay? Unless there's something very extenuating, unless there's something that you have that somebody really, really wants, or unless for some reason somebody really, 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 really wants you, or whatever the case may be. But there's got to be a high motive for them to break stuff to get in. You see what I'm saying? It's just not a common thing right now in we'll call it civil times, if you will. However, after SHTF, okay, if, for one, you have to understand that chances are, if you're in your home, still residing in there, there's chances that you're going to have things in there that other people are going to want, and chances are high they're going to want to try to get them. So that's number one. Number two, that door that you had installed isn't going to do a whole lot of good when you've got a ton of windows. So if you're not thinking about your windows in your SHTF plans, you need to start. I think that's one place where a lot of people kind of overlook, because I don't think it's just something that we even consider. I think it just really, it goes not over the top of our heads, but kind of under the radar, because we're not used to living in a time or living in a manner in which we have to worry about that. That's what I'm saying. Unless somebody has a high level of motivation for wanting to come in after you, they're not, gonna go busting through a window or anything like that. Chances are a good door and keeping your windows and doors locked and all of that's going to keep most people out. Again, unless they've got that high motivation for whatever reason. So please remember that. It's not just about your doors, it's about your windows, it's about any access point that you have to your home. Don't forget about things like garage doors and stuff like that. And you really want to do up like a garage door. Let's say that you're inside your home. You've got a door that leads to your attached garage. You go out into your attached garage, and let's say in the front of your garage, you've got your big garage door, and then let's say you've got another double, or not a double door, but a single door in the front of your garage, and then let's say you've got a single door at the back of your garage to go out into the backyard. Okay, those doors that you have leading into your garage need to be heavily secured, like a mofo. And the reason why is because there's likely, depending on your setup, everybody's setup different, but there's likely going to be more of a delay from the time that you find out somebody's trying to gain entry through that way, because there's a door in between you. So you're not going to hear as well. You're going to, unless you've got something to tell you, cameras, whatever, you're not going to know necessarily that somebody's already gained entry to your garage. Well, chances are high if they've got very much, upstairs. If they get into your garage, you're done for, in most cases. Why would I say that? If you've got an attached garage, what is it that is in most attached garages? I'll give a little hint. It's in the ceiling. Your access to your attic. So if they get access to your garage, now they have access to your attic. There's a good chance of it. Okay? And if they've got access to your attic, well, then you're just royally screwed. So, again, there's a lot of things that people don't think about when it comes to SHTF security. A lot. A whole lot. And I'm just one of those that I've got one of those minds that can sit there and plug up the holes. That's why I do what I do. But I honestly think that the best security is simply going to be knowing. I don't want to say the word terrain. Sorry, I'm struggling for the word. And I don't want to use the word area because it sounds so generic. But that's going to be your biggest feather in your cap. Your biggest, okay? But aside from there, I highly recommend getting whatever it is that you need for your particular situation. And remember, sometimes the goal in security isn't necessarily to be an iron gate. Sometimes it's just meant to be a speed bump, and a lot of times a noisy speed bump. So, remember that. Because I think a lot of times people really put too much faith in some things. Like, for instance, like I told you with putting the hasp on the shed, I wouldn't trust this hasp on that shed to actually secure the items in it for a second. I wouldn't. All I'm intending to do is make sure they have to make a hell of a lot of racket to get into it, to alert me that they are trying to get into it. And that's if I don't see them ahead of time on the camera. So, layers of systems. But that's most important. And then Lead Farmer 73, as I was talking about when he went on earlier, he was talking about drones. And drones are an enormous help when it comes to things like security and mobility. And so I highly recommend cameras of all sorts, including drone cameras. But I highly recommend cameras of all sorts. Security cameras on your home or your retreat or your bug out property. And, definitely drone cameras. Why? Because, man, there is nothing like being able to get that bird's eye view and see what's going on around you, see what kind of threats you might have incoming. Let's say that you've got retreat property that's kind of off the beaten path, okay? But let's say you've got an interstate that's a mile away from your retreat property, okay? Nothing else, really, right? Small, sparse little towns scattered here and there around you. But a mile away, there just happens to be an interstate. Well, a lot of people have that myth or that illusion of security that that's good enough. Nobody ever find me here. Not the case. Let me tell you what. When the balloon goes up and you don't have all these fancy devices and all this stuff to distract you, you're going to have time to do a lot of other things. Like, I don't know, scavenge for food, weapons, or supplies, anything else you might need to survive. Going to have a whole lot of time for that. So what may seem well off the beaten path today is just going to be somebody's general walk after SHTF. So remember that. That's why I laugh when people think that, and some people are in a good spot. Don't get me wrong. Some people are in like pristine spot. But for the most majority of people, even as secluded as they may think they are, they're going to have visitors. After the balloon goes up, they will have visitors at some point. Guaranteed. You would have to be way, way, way whack out there in the middle of nothing. So, plus you wouldn't, you wouldn't believe who knows what. Because people talk, You could be somebody that goes out and buys some property somewhere and quietly goes and starts doing stuff. You don't know. If it's just your retreat property and you're going there on the weekends here and there to do stuff or whatever, you don't know who might be checking out the place when you're not there. Even if it's not driving down the lane or anything like that, you don't know if they're not looking through a pair of binoculars, just kind of poking around, seeing what you're doing, being nosy, right? You don't know. There's a lot of people that, even though they have retreat property or what have you, bug out property, they still have power running to it. And I'm not knocking that whatsoever. All I'm saying is that if you've got electricity running to your bug out location, your retreat or whatever, there's public record of that place being there. So a few people might know that it might be there. Just saying. So never count on, I'm not going to be found. So why did I go through all that? Because that's what a drone, that's where it shines. That's where it shines. If for whatever reason you might have concern to think that you might have people headed your way, you put it up in the air and you go find out. That simple. Very, very useful in that manner. And so I actually grabbed mine. I will be doing a video at some point on these. Now, finally, after all this time, I've been saying I've been going to do a video on the drones for a long time. But I also said my biggest issue was I didn't really have the equipment to do a decent drone video because I didn't have cameras that I could put on me or any. So I should be in a lot better shape to be able to do that drone video now. So we're going to be doing one here soon. So this by no means will be that video. But anyway, here's the little Mavic Mini here. And let me open it up. And so this was the second one I bought. The first one I bought, which I'm not showing you, I bought it because I was trying to get away with not having to pay the price for a good drone. And you can't do that. There's only a couple of drones out there that you can cheap out on and have anything even remotely worthwhile. But for the most part, if you can in any way swing it, DJI is the way to go. They're solid aircraft. They're awesome, you know. But if you absolutely can't afford to go DJI, FIMI, FIMI, they make a decent drone. They make a couple of decent drones. They've got the FIMI X8 SE, the regular full-size one, and then they've got a mini now or something like that. I believe they call it a mini or something to that effect. That's a decent drone. So that would be the one. If you went with anything other than a DJI, I would say I would probably go with that FIMI. Either one, whether it be the mini or whether it be the larger counterpart. But I really wouldn't do much less than that. But anyway, this is a Mavic Mini. This is the Mini 1, not the Mini 2. And there's a reason why I clarify that. Because this was the second one I got. The first one was a Potensic, and it's up there, and it's not worth its weight in plastic. It's not. It's a good flying drone. It's fun to kind of fly around and stuff. But kind of the whole idea is that you can take the drone up and see what's going on. And you can, if you get that drone even 100 feet away from you, you lose your feed, your video feed. So it's useless. It's pointless. It's completely 100% pointless. So, I bought a Mavic Mini, DJI Mavic Mini, and this absolutely took care of that issue. This thing, even in a town the size of ours, you can get it close to about a mile away. Okay, and I'm not kidding. You can fly it about a mile away. And that's in town, like out of your yard kind of thing. Okay, that's this one. That's the Mavic Mini. Okay, which is the probably not the cheapest drone DJI makes, but the cheapest one kind of in this category. So the issue with the Mavic Mini now is this thing's got a lot of pros, a whole lot of pros. It's quiet, it's small. You don't have to become registered legally to fly this drone in the United States because it's under 250 grams. So if that's a concern to you, you don't have to, be registered for the heavier drones. So that's a good thing. But the bad thing is, this thing is not very wind resistant. And there are many, many, many people that have lost their Mavic Minis because they have flown them when it was too windy. And it's not hard to do. So this thing is really tiny and really light. So they did come out with a Mini 2, an updated version of this, which is much more wind resistant, much, much more. In fact, the Mini 2, I wouldn't really be so much afraid of the wind, okay? But this one, yeah, you have to be mindful of the wind with this one because it will fly away. So anyway, so while this was a good solution, it wasn't a complete solution because what would I do if it was a little windy out? So, distance, check. Quality of video feed, check. Wind, not so much. So, um, so I thought, well, what am I gonna do? So about a year or so after this released, DJI released the Mavic Air 2, and just so happened I got lucky and was able to get one. Um, Hang on, let me get this rubber band on here. Otherwise, I'll have to kick my own butt. The other thing about the Mavic Mini is people didn't store them in the case correctly, and it would put pressure on the props. And they would get a warning about bent props. Everybody would throw a fit. So that's why I put a rubber band around it that holds the props where they're supposed to be when you stick it in the case. Anyway, let me zip this up. This here if you can't tell, slightly larger. That is a Mavic Air 2. And this definitely checks all the boxes. So, without a doubt. There isn't anything, well, there's only one thing prepping wise that this one doesn't check the box of. And unfortunately, you would have to pay a whole lot more to check that box. And what that is thermal vision. And DJI does make a drone that has it. It's called their Enterprise, but it's not cheap. So, but they do make one. But you're going to pay heavily for it. So, aside from that this one doesn't do thermal, it definitely checks all the other boxes and does real well in the wind. This one, one day the squirrels knocked the controller out of my hand and took off with it, and I think it was about 2 miles out before I was able to get my controller back from the squirrels and bring it back in. So this one has, far more range capability than what the other one I showed you, the Mavic Mini. This one has further range capability, much more high-def camera, whole 9 yards. And like I say, the wind resistance on this is really, really good. So this one, realistically, you're going to fly somewhere around 22 to 25 minutes in the air per battery. So that's not too bad. So most definitely, if you were in a situation to where you had retreat property, prepper property that was, say, a mile away from an interstate or something like that, and you had concern that you may have people headed your way from said interstate, this would be a perfect drone to be able to throw up in the air and go take a peek and see if you did indeed have people headed your way or not. That bit of advance notice could definitely be the difference between whether you live or die, because that is going to be your advance notice. And as you already know, the more time you have to get ready, the more prepared you can be. So definitely a good prep, without a doubt a good prep. And likewise, not just people coming to you, but if you need to go somewhere else and you need to scout out your way there you go. It's a excellent way to do that. However, I do have some more points to make. 1 second. sip of tea here. So, there's, as you know, good and bad with everything. There are a few more notes to point out when it comes to. I'm not necessarily going to say specifically DJI drones, but DJI drones for sure. And there are other companies too. I'm going to be real honest and tell you that I don't know for sure which ones have it and which ones don't. I'm just going to be honest with you. So do your own homework. But there are some that have it and some that don't. DJI does. And what I'm talking about is something called geofencing. Now, what geofencing is if an area is geofenced, what that means is the DJI software will not allow me to fly that drone into that area. I mean, it depends on the area that it is. Some areas are the way it's classified, you have to get permission, and you can legally get permission to fly in that area. You just have to follow whatever rules are set for that and blah, blah, blah. Other areas is a no-go, period. You can't fly, not even in your backyard head high, okay? For instance, if you live right next to an airport. So, let's say you did live right next to an airport and you wanted to fly your DJI drone. So you get it all out of the case and you get it all set up and you power it all on, and guess what? Won't let you take off. Why? Because it's geofenced. Now, while I have no qualms about that, not whatsoever, I get it. I do still have a bit of an issue with DJI being able to decide whether or not I can fly my drone. So, with that in mind, I can't tell you with 100% certainty that if the balloon would go up and we'd have a Chinese version of Red Dawn, that you're going to be able to take your DJI drone out and power it up and take off into the open skies. Because being a Chinese company, they may ground them all. So I just want to be open and honest about that. It is a possibility, and you need to be aware of that possibility. There are drones out there. And again, I'm not sure, like Autel. Autel is the brand of a decent drone. It's an American made, I believe, drone, and very expensive, highly expensive, but a good quality drone. And I want to say I saw somebody say in one of the groups that it does not have geofencing, which means that wouldn't be an issue. So that's something to keep in mind. But they are an incredible tool when it comes to that. Trying to think what other areas I wanted to discuss when it comes to that. But a massively important part that I want people to take away is don't get caught up in this myth or the illusion of security. Know what is true security, what is real security, and what's only security because of the times we live in. Okay? Being civilized. Even though that may seem to be falling apart more and more each and every day, we still, for the most part, live under some level of civility. And it's just not all out craziness. Security now and then are going to be two different things. Today, like I say, your windows, as long as you lock your windows and you lock your doors, you're probably going to be okay, because for the most part, people aren't going to break stuff to get in, okay, today. But after that balloon goes up, it's going to be a totally different world. And that window that people were apprehensive of breaking before is going to be nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, it's going to go way beyond that. Not only will that window be nothing at that point, but even taking your life or the life of your loved ones isn't going to be anything at that point either. So again, don't get caught up in that myth, that illusion that is security. You know? Very easy to do. Very easy to do. And I know I laughed when I made that video. I was not on the video, but I was laughing myself, wondering how many people were going to roll their eyes when I was putting that hasp on there and that lock on there, going, well, that ain't very hard to rip off. Right, I know. But you're going to make a hell of a lot of noise when you do it. That's the point. So, realistic security. Know what it is that whatever level of security is expected to do, and don't expect anything more from it. You know? Very important. Very important. I think a lot of people are going to fail in the area of security simply because they're basing what they need off of the only thing they know, if you're following me. They're basing all the data that they come up with, all the ideas that they come up with, and the preparations they make on a civil, or at least in a civil time. I'm not saying that they're thinking it's going to be a civil time, but it's much different when you're actually there in something versus when you're just trying to get ready for it and never gone through it before. How many times have you went to go work on something, for instance, or go do something, and first time of doing it, and you get there, get started doing it, and next thing you know, oh, I forgot to grab this, and this, and this, and this. So now you're making another trip just to get stuff that you forgot to get. Unfortunately, in the world of prepping, and especially, more accurately, in the world of survival, you don't get do-overs. It's not as simple as going back and getting the items you forgot. Sometimes it costs you your life. So, security is a big deal. And you got to know what, like I say, what is real security and what is that myth? What is only security in a civil time, if you will. I don't consider today's times necessarily so civil. I don't. They are, but at the same time, they're really not. I think that in itself is an illusion. I think the only thing that makes anything civil is because we're not all how do I want to word this? We're not all doing, the majority of us aren't doing something that would cause others to want to take our life, for example. Okay? The intent isn't there. And I think that's the only thing. That's the only thing, really. Morality and intent are the only thing that stops it anyway. Evil and good. Evil from good. That's really it. Morality and intent. Nothing else. Laws don't affect or stop anything. They just don't. They just don't. I mean, you might, little stuff, but I'm talking about serious stuff. I mean, you can't tell me murder laws do you a whole lot of good. Not saying we should get rid of them. Don't get twisted. But people knowingly murder people all the time, and they know murder is illegal when they do it. So what did that law do to prevent that murder? Nothing. Because a law can't do anything to prevent that murder. You can't legislate morality. You can't do it, no matter how hard you try. Okay? The only thing that you can do is encourage people not to be victims. Encourage people to be survivors. And in that case, the only way that you can be a survivor is to be able to defend yourself. It's the only answer. It's the only answer. Not more laws, not bigger police forces, not yada, 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 yada. No. Self-reliance, self-accountability, self-responsibility. You're responsible for your own safety and security, nobody else. Nobody else. And if you put your safety and security into the hands of anybody else, you're doing an extremely dangerous thing. I would recommend you not do so, unless you personally know those people. That's like alarm systems and stuff. I would never have a third party, have a company install an alarm system or a camera system even. Wouldn't do it. Especially an alarm system, though. Nope. And I wouldn't allow a third-party company to monitor either said system, whether it was camera system, whether it was alarm system, or both. Nope. Nope. There are too many systems out there that you can go out and get. They're not hard to set up. And you can set them, you can configure them all to contact you. Or whoever. I mean, you can set a lot of them up to make multiple contacts, multiple cell phones and the police department, and you can save yourself a fortune. And the best part of it all is if you install your own system, it's not done in a cookie cutter manner. In other words, all these systems out there, these commonly installed systems that people have these companies come out and install, they have little quirks about each and every one of them that pretty much they all do. So in other words, somebody that knows a little bit about those systems will easily know how to get past those systems. Why? Because it's the way the company does things or what have you, right? But if you do that yourself, you're likely going to do things a little bit differently than Acme does or whatever. So that in itself could be something that trips up a would-be burglar or whatever, home invader, whatever. So stuff like that's important. And like I say, you can save a fortune doing it yourself. Not only that, but then you also know the system inside and out, you personally. And so if you have any issues or anything like that, you're going to be able to more easily identify what those issues are and be able to fix them. So that's always a big thing. I preach that a lot, that knowing how to repair and maintain your equipment is absolutely huge. And I mean that, it is. Because it doesn't matter if you got all this fancy stuff. If you, like I've said, if you can't maintain it, if you can't repair it when it breaks down, all the fancy stuff in the world doesn't amount to a hill of beans. So, very important. Anyway, I reckon I could do some headlines. Get the heck out of here. I am like as sore as it gets. I must have slept wrong last night and rotated a rib out of place. And so all day I have been in a fair amount of pain. So I can get myself put in a position to where it doesn't hurt. As long as I don't move, it doesn't hurt. But yeah, it sucks. So, but the thing of it is, it's a good chance that tonight when I go to bed, after I fall asleep, all my muscles relax, the stupid thing will just settle right back in place, And tomorrow, I'm hoping it's back in place tomorrow. And as long as it is, I'll have some tenderness in the area, but it won't be like this. And so it's been a nightmare all day. So um, I'm ready to actually hang up the day and go to bed just because I've just been hurting so bad. Kind of worn out. Let's see. There you go. Let me have a sip of tea and a few vapes. I do highly recommend that people look into lock manipulation. Two channels I follow on YouTube are Bosnian Bill and Lock Picking Lawyer. And there's tons of others as well, and I'm sure many of those are just as good channels as the ones I watch. But I watch Bosnian Bill. Typically every video he does I watch. And I watch a fair amount of Lock Picking Lawyers videos. And I'll tell you what, I've learned a lot. I have learned a lot, and I have dramatically increased our security as far as locks are concerned from those videos. They've taught me what to stay away from, what's good, what's bad. That's how I know that most master locks you want to stay away from. Originally from them, and then I've got to try a few of them, and sure enough, they're normally really super easy. It takes less than a second to get one open. You could literally pick a lot of master locks faster than what you could actually use the key, because it would take a little longer for you to get the key all in there and turned than what it would for you just to jab that in there and go and rake it real quick. But anyway, so having that kind of a skill could most definitely save your life. If the only thing between you and death is supplies that are in a shed, or not necessarily in a shed, but behind a locked door, right? Being able to have that skill, that knowledge, very well save your life. And I'm not good at it. I haven't spent much time on it. This lock has proven to me that I can do it as far as single pin. So yeah, I'm gonna work on it. That's one of the things I'm gonna be doing in the very near future, is working with my skills with this a little bit more. But I urge people, don't do it for sinister reasons or anything like that. Do it because, like I say, that bit of knowledge, that skill set could be the difference between whether or not you and your loved ones survive, whether or not you can get a lock open. So, let's see. I think that pretty well covers it. Let me do some headlines. Let me get out of here. Man. I can lock these keys on here so I don't lose them. But yeah, stay away. I would recommend, my opinion, stay away from master lock. And just one more thing on these real quick. I know I forgot to mention this earlier. This was a set of 2. The Avis I got was a set of 2, and they're keyed alike, meaning that all the keys work for both locks. This I bought. It was just a single lock, one lock. Um, the security on a master lock, like I say, it's not really great. Not at all. Security on an Abus, depending on what you get, of course, they've got higher grade master locks that have better security. Well, they also have higher grade Abus locks that have better security. Some of the Abus locks for just a padlock, right? A freaking padlock, it's like $80, okay, for one freaking padlock, right? But that's a really high security padlock. I did not buy the $80 padlock. I bought their cheaper version. Anyway, this is their AquaSafe line. It's you can use this like on marine kind of stuff. Stuff that's going to be in the weather. So that's why I went with this one. But to give you an idea, Abus, which has much better security than Masterlock, I paid $14 for 2 locks for Abus, okay? $14 for 2 locks for Abus, and $10 for 1 lock of Masterlock. So don't think necessarily that you're going to have to pay out the wazoo to get a little bit better security. Not necessarily. And again, what I bought's not the best, and I'm not saying Abus is the best, but I'm saying that Abus is better, and it's affordable. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's pick proof. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying it's a little better. So, I can't pick my Abus locks, but if Bosnian Bill had it in his hands, it would take him 2 seconds to do it. So just because I can't do it doesn't mean it can't be done. I'm not worth a damn at it. But to the average Joe Schmo that would be able to easily get into a master lock, they're not going to be able to get into the Abus. So, and I am said Joe Schmo, right? I can easily get into most master locks just by raking them, but the Abus I can't. So, time for bed yet? Oh yeah, I got to do headlines. Half tempted. Yeah, I think I'm going to. We're gonna make headlines easy tonight. We're just gonna do today's. How's that sound? Sounds good to me. You can always go to Twitter. Even the dog's huffing me. There we go. We'll just do today's headlines and we'll call it a day and get the hell out of here. And like I say, I'm ready to get to bed. I hope all my stuff relaxes enough that and that's what I'm pretty sure what it is. I'm pretty sure it's a rib that rotates out. That's certainly what it feels like. And so hopefully I'll be able to relax enough while I'm sleeping tonight that it'll fall back into place. I mean, it's not like this is super uncommon for me. It usually doesn't hurt as bad as this. This is probably the worst I think it's ever been. But it's not near the first time that it's happened. It happens fairly regular, so just not usually as painful. Yikes. Yeah, that didn't feel real good. All right. Let's Starting out from stuff I put out this morning. Russia is number one adversary threat, UK Defense Secretary says, citing regular sightings of Russian ships and submarines. The Russian government gives go-ahead for piling of national wealth fund into gold bullion. Musk says that he supports crypto in battle against fiat money. No full access for UN inspectors to nuclear sites after stopgap deal expired, says Iranian parliament speaker. Central bank digital currencies may be disrupted for financial systems, says Fitch. Not bitch, Fitch. I never wanted to harm Diana. Disgraced ex-BBC journalist speaks out after damning Princess Diana inquiry. Digital yuan not designed to displace U.S. dollar, says former head of China's central bank. Long working hours killing 745,000 people a year, says new research. So each and every year, that's nuts. That's nuts. Each and every year. 12 dead after cable car plunges in Italian Alps. Children among injured passengers. Gay police sergeant condemns Capitol Hill Pride's blatant hate after it bans cops from attending. Oxford secretly used cell phone data to track millions as part of its government-ordered vaccination study, says the media. Fortuna pipe-laying vessel resumes work on Nord Stream 2 in German waters. Barclays says reopening economies drive oil demand higher. France may apply tougher travel restrictions for UK due to surge in Indian variant of coronavirus, says their foreign minister. Greek dog breeders protest government bill that would make sterilization of pets mandatory. Porn literacy, a class at New York prep school, leaves students and parents baffled. I would like to have a master's degree in porn literacy, please. Bomb scare forces Ryanair jet to make emergency landing in Belarus. Authorities detain wanted editor of banned Telegram channel. State-funded UK study says Pfizer-AstraZeneca vaccines are highly effective against Indian COVID-19 variant. Jewish organizations say extremist Tommy Robinson not welcome at pro-Israel rallies. I don't think Big Brother ought to tell me to do it. Rand Paul sets off critics by refusing COVID-19 vaccine. Very businesslike, top U.S. diplomat acknowledges stable relations with Russia would be good for the world. Cases of heart inflammation among young people who received COVID-19 vaccine being investigated by the CDC. We didn't stop to think about it. Michigan Governor Whitmer apologizes for flouting own COVID-19 rules when dining out. And I do see a number one up there. Shocking act. U.S. and EU denounce emergency plane landing in Belarus that led to arrest of wanted editor of Telegram channel. Okay. Messed up world. Messed up world. As far as anything else, since I know I kind of cheaped out and only did today's headlines instead of covering Friday and Saturday like I usually do on Sundays. Right now it's kind of like a Netflix and chill moment, right? I've got my eye on several things going on. I'm speaking in reference to keeping a close eye on different situations that could flare up. Obviously, things had calmed down considerably. between Hamas and the IDF. I don't know if that's going to last. I mean, it's not going to be forever, and that's unless they come up with something plausible. It's not going to last forever. But the good news is at least for now, the tension's not nearly as high as it was. Absolutely, don't take your eye off of that area. Doesn't mean that we're definitely, out of harm's way. We've got so much going on worldwide. We've still got the tensions with China and the South China Sea. We still got tensions with Russia for a million and one reasons. Mainly because we just can't stop. But we got a lot going on. And while I'm not going to take my eye off the Middle East, at least I can say that I'm not staring at it, waiting for the next big thing to happen right now. Just keep an eye on the news generally, just broad across the spectrum. I do expect surprises coming right on the horizon, and I mean not good ones either. But I can't honestly tell you what they're going to be, because there is so much craziness going on. And the good news is, because I always try to look for the good news is, what you have to do remains the same. Like I've been saying, what you have to do remains the same, and that's the good news. That's why I always recommend people, when they prep, to prep for a grid down situation, because you pretty much cover most of the bases right there. So continue prepping. I still would, if you're not prepped in areas of, say, like radiological threats and stuff like that, be a good idea. I do recommend it. So, like I said, it's an area that we ourselves have to get prepped in, because it's an area that I wasn't quite so concerned with before. But in light of recent events, an overall trend of the global state of affairs, especially involving nuclear armament, it's probably a good idea. So, one thing about the world of prepping and being prepared and all of that is it's ever changing. And what was a threat yesterday may not be a threat tomorrow. You never know. So that's why I say prep for something like Grid Down that covers you for a very wide range of things, and then kind of fill in the gaps from there. But most importantly, make sure that it's your preps. Don't just be copying somebody, because that somebody might not be in your situation, and the same things that might help that somebody may not help you. So, anyway, I think that's going to cover it. I'm going to get out of here, and probably won't be on YouTube public tomorrow night. It'll probably just be a Patreon deal, but chances are fairly decent that come Thursday it'll be back public on YouTube, just to close up the week. So anyway, I am going to get out of here. There will be videos coming up. I'm still probably going to do a video on locks and stuff. So and then I'm good to go. I got my microphone. It came in Saturday. So I've got my microphone. I'm good to go. I may even do the hybrid hydro grow pot video, setting up the system. I may even do that video tomorrow. We'll see. So it's coming very quick, I can assure you that. I've got the mic, I've got the lights ready to go, I've got everything. I'm good to go. So got all the supplies I need. Just got to make it happen. So, all right. With that, God willing, we shall see you soon. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.